Australia. Known for its endless coastlines, wide open spaces, and easygoing lifestyle. A place where the beach is never too far, the sky seems a little bluer, and the pace of life, at least on the surface, feels less frantic than in places like London or New York. But peel back the postcard image, and you'll find a different reality, one where Australian cities are groaning under the weight of traffic congestion. It's not just a minor inconvenience. Congestion is now shaping where people live, how they work, and how much time they lose each week simply trying to get from A to B. So today, let's go deeper than the traffic reports and look at the most congested cities in Australia. What's driving the gridlock? Which cities are the worst affected? And what does it say about how Australia is growing? Let's begin with the data. A nation on the move, slowly. According to the 2024 INRIX Global Traffic Scorecard, which analyses mobility trends and traffic delays in over 1,000 cities globally, 5 Australian cities made it into the list. Let's break it down. 1. Brisbane, the unlikely gridlock capital. Brisbane might seem like a surprising leader in traffic congestion. With just under 3 million residents, it's smaller than Sydney or Melbourne. But according to the 2024 INRIX Global Traffic Scorecard, Brisbane drivers lost an average of 84 hours in traffic, the most in Australia, and ranked 10th worst globally. That's a 14% increase from previous years, showing how a once manageable commute has become a daily grind. So, what's driving all the gridlock? Urban sprawl is a major culprit. Brisbane has expanded outward rather than upward, pushing people farther away from jobs, schools, and essential services. Unlike Sydney or Melbourne, where high-density housing near employment hubs is more common, Brisbane's suburbs are spread wide, making car travel almost unavoidable. Public transport options, while present, fall short. The busway system is efficient but limited in reach. Meanwhile, the rail network is patchy and fails to serve many key growth areas. The much-anticipated $6 billion cross-river rail could ease pressure, but it won't be ready until at least 2026. With the 2032 Olympics on the horizon, there's pressure to modernize the city's infrastructure. But unless major improvements are fast-tracked, commuters will likely continue to sit in long lines of traffic day after day. 2. Melbourne, booming growth, bottlenecked roads. Melbourne drivers lost 65 hours to congestion in 2024, making it the 21st most congested city globally. That's a significant burden for Australia's fastest-growing capital, now home to more than 5.2 million people, and counting. With thousands flocking to Melbourne each year, the city's infrastructure is struggling to keep pace. So, what's driving the delays? Rapid and uneven growth is a key factor. The outer suburbs, places like Cranbourne, Werribee, and Craigieburn, are booming with new housing developments, but public transport hasn't kept up. Many of these areas lack adequate train or tram access, leaving residents heavily reliant on cars. As a result, arterial roads and major freeways are choked with traffic every morning and evening. While big infrastructure projects like the Suburban Rail Loop and Northeast Link promise to ease some of the pressure, they're still years from completion, and not without setbacks. Both have been plagued by delays, ballooning budgets, and political wrangling. Adding to the challenge is Melbourne's deep-rooted car culture. For many, driving still feels more reliable and convenient than public transport. Until the city can convince commuters otherwise, and back it up with real improvements, the congestion crisis is likely to get worse before it gets better. 3. Sydney, complex harbour, complex problems. Once the worst city for traffic in Australia, Sydney has seen some improvement, but congestion remains a serious issue. In 2024, it ranked 3rd in the country and 45th globally, with drivers losing an average of 51 hours annually to traffic. That's still a significant hit to productivity, family time, and overall well-being. Sydney's unique geography doesn't help. Built around a stunning but fragmented harbour, the city's layout makes road expansion both expensive and logistically challenging. Tunnels and bridges have helped, but they come with high costs and long construction times. Meanwhile, demand continues to grow. Public transport exists, and in parts of the city it's efficient, but it hasn't kept pace with Sydney's rapidly expanding population, especially in the western suburbs. These areas have become home to hundreds of thousands of residents who rely heavily on cars, putting immense pressure on the road network. The much-anticipated Western Sydney Airport and surrounding Aerotropolis are part of a long-term plan to decentralize jobs and reduce commuting times. But these developments are still years away. For now, many Sydneysiders are left facing long, frustrating commutes that drain their energy and chip away at their mental health day after day. 4. Perth, a sprawling city in a squeeze. In 2024, Perth drivers lost 42 hours to traffic delays, a figure that continues to creep upward year after year. While Perth might not yet match the congestion levels of Australia's East Coast cities, the warning signs are there. Geography plays a big role in the city's traffic woes. Nestled between the Indian Ocean and the Darling Range, Perth has limited space to expand. This has led to urban sprawl concentrated in narrow corridors, funneling traffic onto a handful of major roads. The result? Daily bottlenecks and increasingly frustrating commutes. The Western Australian government is responding with major infrastructure projects, including the $1.6 billion Tonkin Highway upgrade and the $1.2 billion Morley-Ellenbrook rail line. These projects aim to improve connectivity and ease pressure on the road network. But despite these efforts, public transport remains patchy, particularly in the outer suburbs, where many residents still have no practical alternative to driving. Rush hour in Perth now stretches from 6:30 to 10 a.m., a clear indicator that traffic congestion is no longer limited to peak periods. Unless public transport options expand meaningfully, more commuters will be stuck idling in traffic instead of moving forward. 5. Adelaide, quiet city, loud traffic. Adelaide may be known for its relaxed pace and easygoing charm, but traffic congestion is quietly becoming a bigger issue. In 2024, drivers lost an average of 30 hours to congestion, a 20% increase over the past 5 years. For a city that prides itself on being stress-free, that's a notable shift. So what's behind the rise? As in many Australian cities, suburban sprawl is a major factor. With housing near the city centre becoming less affordable, more residents are moving to outer suburbs like Gawler and Aldinga. Unfortunately, these areas are poorly served by public transport, leaving cars as the primary mode of travel. Adelaide's north-south corridor, its busiest arterial road, has become a major choke point. The long-awaited Torrens to Darlington upgrade is meant to fix that, but construction delays have only worsened the congestion in the short term. Adding to the problem is Adelaide's high rate of car ownership, one of the highest per capita in the country. When most people choose to drive, even for short distances, the cumulative impact is immediate. Clogged roads, longer commutes, and rising frustration. Without meaningful investment in reliable, efficient transport alternatives, Adelaide's easy lifestyle could become increasingly difficult to navigate. The hidden costs of congestion. Now, you might be thinking, so what? Every big city has traffic. And you're right. Congestion is a fact of life in growing urban centers. But in Australia, traffic is no longer just a minor inconvenience. It has become a serious economic and social burden with far-reaching consequences. According to Infrastructure Australia, traffic congestion cost the national economy around $19 billion in 2023. That figure is expected to double to $38 billion by 2031 if nothing changes. These aren't abstract numbers. They represent wasted fuel, lost productivity, delayed freight, and time people will never get back. But the economic cost is only part of the story. The human toll may be even more severe. Time stuck in traffic is time lost with family, time that could be spent resting, exercising, or simply enjoying life. Studies have linked long commutes to increased levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. They're also associated with higher rates of obesity, cardiovascular disease, and respiratory illness. In short, traffic doesn't just empty our wallets. It quietly erodes our health, happiness, and quality of life. And unless bold action is taken, Australians will keep paying the price, one stalled commute at a time. Can public transport save us? Public transport should be the solution to Australia's growing traffic crisis. But in reality, it's often unreliable, expensive, and chronically underfunded. Only 16% of daily trips in Australia are made using public transport. Compare that to global cities like Tokyo, Paris, or Seoul, where more than 50% of people use buses, trains, or subways to get around. So why the massive gap? A lot of it comes down to how Australian cities were designed. Around the car. Suburbs were planned with wide roads and long commutes in mind, not walkability, bike lanes, or convenient access to train stations. Even today, many new housing estates are built without nearby public transport options, effectively locking residents into a life of car dependency from day one. There's also a frustrating political element. Infrastructure funding in Australia often follows election cycles rather than long-term planning. This means basic but essential improvements, like increasing bus frequency, expanding coverage, or fixing unreliable train lines, are frequently overlooked. Instead, governments tend to prioritize flashy megaprojects that offer ribbon-cutting opportunities and political points, even if they take years to deliver benefits. The result? A public transport system that's too weak to compete with the car, and a congestion crisis that keeps getting worse. Will technology help? Maybe not. Smart traffic lights, rideshare apps, and autonomous vehicles all sound like the future. And yes, they can help ease congestion at the margins. But none of these tech solutions tackle the core issue. Australian cities weren't designed for sustainable, people-first mobility. They were built around cars with sprawling suburbs, wide roads, and long commutes baked into the blueprint. Even the smartest self-driving car is useless if it's crawling through a 10-kilometer traffic jam. Real change demands more than gadgets. It requires a fundamental shift in how we design and live in our cities. That means building denser, more walkable neighborhoods where public transport is not just available, but actually reliable, efficient, and pleasant to use. It also means shifting planning priorities away from car convenience and towards people-focused solutions that value community, accessibility, and sustainability. Technology may assist, but only smart urban planning can solve the congestion crisis at its root. What needs to change? Australia has outgrown its traffic infrastructure. The answer isn't just to build bigger roads. It's to build smarter cities. We need to rethink how and where we live. That starts with prioritizing high-density, mixed-use developments that bring homes, jobs, schools, and shops closer together. When people can live near where they work or study, the need to drive drops dramatically. Public transport must be more than a political promise. It needs real investment, especially in the outer suburbs, where poor service forces people into cars, trains that run on time, buses that come more than once an hour, coverage that actually reaches growing communities. Funding imbalances also need fixing. Local councils often plan our cities, but they lack the financial muscle. Meanwhile, state and federal governments have the money but not the street-level insight. Smarter collaboration is essential. We should also decentralize employment, encouraging job hubs outside the crowded capitals to ease commuter pressure. And finally, we need a cultural shift. Driving shouldn't be the default. Make walking, cycling, and public transport not just possible, but attractive, safe, and convenient. Australia's congestion crisis isn't just about traffic. It's about how we build, how we move, and how we choose to live. It's time to plan for the future, not pave over the past. It's not just about shorter travel times. It's about getting our lives back. More time with family, more energy, less stress. These are cities with incredible potential, but unless we tackle this head-on, that potential will remain gridlocked. And while we wait for governments to act, maybe the most powerful change begins with a personal question. How much of your life are you willing to lose in traffic? Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments. How long is your daily commute? We'd love to hear from you.